All right. Are you ready?
I guess so. Ready as ever.
Let's do it.
All right.
All right, Terry. Where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
So I grew up in Bunker Hill, Illinois, a very small town. I graduated with 36 kids in my class. So very small. Farms, cornfields, like what you see on the movies. And after that, I graduated, and now I'm from St. Louis. So
You live in St. Louis now?
That's right. Yep.
And tell me about your childhood. You had mom and dad?
I did, but not so much of both. So my mom and dad had me when they were young. My mom was 19. My dad was 20. I think they met like partying or whatever, because my dad lived in Missouri, my mom in Illinois. So they got pregnant with me, got married. My mom was probably like 9 months pregnant when she got married. And then they lived in my paternal grandparents' basement for a couple years till I was 2, and then they got divorced. That's when sort of the separation happened, where my dad stayed in Missouri and then I went to live with my mom. But my dad had paternal custody, but I wouldn't see him ever. I would stay with his mom and dad, my paternal grandparents. So though I had a mom and dad, I didn't really, because I was like bouncing around from place to place, either between my maternal grandparents, aunts and uncles, or my dad's side of the family. Then, comes all the craziness, the bad memories, which I can go into detail about. But fast forward, asking if I have had parents, yes. I lost my mom, but I don't really have my dad in my life now either. So it's not really felt like I've had parents ever, a mom and dad. So it's...
You're raised more by your...
Grandparents. Yes. And I don't want to sell the other people short that had an impact in my life, like my uncle, my mom's side, my aunt, cousins. So, when a lot of folks ask, like, how did you end up being how you are now? Though I didn't have that mom and dad figure, I had all kinds of people around me that still loved me and would help guide me in the right direction.
So you avoided a lot of the childhood trauma that a lot of the people that I interview have been through?
No, that's the part. So I'll open that up. So when my mom and dad separated, again, I was about 2, my mom had custody of me. And there was so much bouncing around from like apartment to apartment, family members, friends. This was probably the worst part in my life, from 2 to when she was killed when I was 8. And still to this day, I have issues with like staying in new places that I'm not familiar with. Riding in cars, I have a really hard time letting other people drive, because she would, take me to bars, be drunk driving all the time. We would have to stay in like random friends and dudes' houses because she was either getting drugs or whatever, walking in on her getting raped. That was awful. But, eventually she ended up meeting my sister's dad, who I consider like a real dad, like my stepdad. There was some happy time there, and then they split. So my sister went to live with her dad, and then I stayed with my mom. And that time was awful too, because I felt like I had to protect her. Like I had to keep her safe. And so anytime she would go out, I would go with her, because I thought for some reason I could keep her from having bad things happen to her, which is ridiculous as a child. And I do remember a couple of times too, my uncle coming and picking me up at different bars and stuff in different houses, waiting out. I remember this terrible memory of sitting outside in a car by myself in the dark while she was going to do whatever it was that she was doing. That was weird to me, because now thinking as a mom, I would never let my children sit in a car by themselves. It was just wild. But you know, when you have addictions, you're not in the right state of mind. So clearly.
Today's video is sponsored by BetterHelp. I work every day. I don't take sick days. Some days everything falls into place, and other days it just doesn't. We've all been there. Life has its ups and downs, and that's just how it goes. When things feel heavy, having the right support makes all the difference. A therapist can help untangle external pressures from internal thoughts, turning stress into personal strength. Therapy is a great tool for learning how to process emotions, build healthy boundaries, and develop ways to cope with social anxieties and everyday pressures. It can also help you set goals that truly fit your life. Getting started is simple. You fill out a short questionnaire online, and BetterHelp will match you with one of more than 30,000 licensed therapists with diverse specialties and backgrounds. If the match isn't right, it's no problem. You can switch therapists anytime at no extra cost. And the best part, you don't have to wait for the right time. Any day can be the start of something better. So if you're feeling stuck, click on the link in the description or visit betterhelp.com/soft white underbelly to get 10% off your first month of therapy. Because taking care of yourself isn't about waiting for perfect. It's about showing up for yourself every day. Thank you for watching. And now back to the video.
Good decisions weren't happening. So eventually, years go by. I survived. She survived. And she ends up getting with another guy. They worked together for a little bit in an apartment. I would see my sister on and off. And I very, very vividly remember my little sister was there with us that weekend. She's 4 years younger than I am. She and I are really close. And my mom went to leave, and I remember thinking, I can't leave my sister here by herself. I have to protect her this time. So that night, my mom left, and then that was the night she got killed. So she never came back.
How did she get killed?
So she was out with a dude, a guy, and they were drinking, doing drugs. I don't know what kind of drugs, but they went to pull over and have sex, and she got out of the car to use the restroom to relieve herself, and he backed over her. Now, there's sort of a conspiracy where it was on purpose, but he did not spend that much time in jail, which was devastating to my family and I, because it was, I think they called it like involuntary manslaughter, to where it was an accident, but he ran her over and just left her there. Like, he didn't, I would think that if someone did something on accident, then they would like try to help you or call for help, but he just left her there. So I remember when my uncle, days had passed, and it was weird. I was sort of relieved, which is terrible to think of, but to be honest, I was like sort of relieved that I didn't have to take care of her anymore. And I thought, well, if she's gone, then I can go live with people who I can just be a kid around. And so days passed. They never found her. She never came back. And I also have a really vivid memory being in a tree, climbing trees with one of my friends, and my uncle said, "Does your mom have any tattoos?" And I'll never forget that. And looking back now, I think they were trying to identify her body. So I did let him know that she had a couple tattoos, and I let him know. And then like that next night was when they broke the news to me that she had been killed and she wasn't coming back. Of course, I'm sobbing because I'm 8. But again, I felt that relief that I didn't have to keep her safe anymore. You
were protecting her more than she was protecting you.
Yeah, I think so. And I do have a few good memories. A lot of people, like my sister, she and I talk a lot about how it's really sad that she doesn't have any memories really of our mom, but I always also say like there wasn't really a lot of good ones to have, so I'd rather her not have any than have those. And she was only 27. So when I had my 27th birthday and I outlived her, like she was 26, 27, That was crazy to me. She was so young. I had my first child when I was 27. So, there's certainly some grief around it, and that's sad that a mother died. But on the flip side, I don't know that she was happy. Like, she's just living a sad life. So that's my mom's story.
Do you know what her childhood was like?
Yeah, she had a pretty normal. I know I watch all your videos and see people talk about normal. She had a pretty normal childhood. I know that she and my grandma, they didn't get along so well. My grandma.
But there was nothing terrible in her childhood.
No. My grandpa was awesome, and I will say that my grandma and my grandpa got divorced, so she did get raised in a single mom household with 2 younger brothers. But I mean, like, there wasn't anything traumatic that I'm aware of. I think my uncles would have told me by now.
Right. And my next question would be, is there any history of addiction in your family?
Not really. I would say not on my mom's side, no. Not at all. But on my dad's side, certainly alcohol. So yeah, I'm not sure what happened. That's kind of the mystery of it all too, is like what went wrong for her. And I don't know if it's because she was just young and just fell into a bad crowd, not having a stable relationship with her parents. I don't know. That part's still a mystery. We'll never know.
And how did your life proceed after that?
Well, my sister, of course, went to her dad full time. I went, and I remember being in the courtroom, which also, anyone listening, is very traumatic to put a child in a courtroom in front of people and ask them to choose who they want to live with. I would strongly recommend against it. Like, have that conversation privately with a social worker. But anyway, yeah, it was a weird time back and forth. My mom's side was fighting for custody. My dad was fighting for custody, but really it was my dad's mom and dad who I would go visit with every couple of weekends. And they were, battling it out. And the judge just said, "Who do you want to live with?" And I said, "My grandma, grandpa, my dad's mom and dad." Because I had good times with them. I had stability there. I had wonderful memories of going to my aunt and uncle's farm, playing with my cousins. And also they kind of spoiled me. So I have to admit that too. As a kid, I was like, well, I get pretty much whatever I want. So that was part of the reason I chose them. They took good care of me. So I went and lived with them. And my grandma, my mom's mom, had grandparent rights, and I got to see her every 2 weekends, which I now look back as a blessing because that's when I would see my sister too. So she and I, even though we were separated, she and I would be together every couple of weekends at my grandma's house. So
That's nice.
Yeah, she and I are best friends now. She's
cool.
Amazing. Yeah. And life was good for a little while. I had stability. We moved out to the country, Bunker Hill. They wanted me to be away from any type of city chaos, drugs, alcohol, and I had a really good childhood there in the country, playing in the woods, creeks, four-wheelers. I had a moped. I love my moped. My grandpa got me a moped, and I would ride for hours just up and down the country roads and in the woods. Had some really good friends, played all the sports, had good friends there. I had a boyfriend at a young age. I can't leave that part out. We were together from junior high all the way through high school, got engaged, got a house when we were like 19 or 20. And then all of a sudden I was like, I don't know if I can do this. I didn't tell you about this part in the email or the video. So by the way, his family also were amazing to me, very supportive. Gave me a place to stay even. But it was a month before the wedding, and I was just feeling like I couldn't just stay in Bunker Hill my whole life. And it was still to this day like the hardest thing that I've ever had to do, but I called off the wedding. And I left Bunker Hill. And then I never went back. So life happens. I go to college. I experience all these great things in life, traveling. I did a lot of drama. I love writing. I also loved doing runway throughout college. I just had a really good life. And it was like to see what I had come from. I almost like buried all of that because to me it almost didn't matter anymore because I was like, I've moved on and here's this life that I'm making for myself. And then, fast forward, I meet my husband. We have 3 beautiful kids. I love them to death. They're like these little special people that I've made, and it's half of myself whom I've learned to love now and half of my husband, and they're just these like beautiful little blessings, and I love them so much, and we have so much fun together. So yeah, I have an incredible life now, but there's a plot twist coming. So I forgot to tell you, my grandma and grandpa that raised me, oh my gosh, I forgot a huge part, Mark. It's coming up. I'll weave it in here. So this actually segues nicely. So 2 years ago, out of nowhere, by the way, I still don't really see my dad. He's not really in the picture for every now and then. He kind of calls, but my kids don't see him, which is sad to me. So 2 years ago, I get this random message from someone who I don't know. And she's like, hey, is this person or this person your dad? I said, well, yeah, that one's my dad, yes. And she's like, well, I don't know if you'd be willing to do this, but will you take a DNA test to confirm if he's my dad? I was like, this is wild. So I'm thinking, and my whole life, I'm like, there's no way that my dad didn't have any other kids. There's no way. And so I entertained it. I'm like, it's possible that this could be his daughter. So sure enough, I did a DNA test, and she is my half-sister, which was because I had this like neat, stable, incredible life, and then all of a sudden this bomb was dropped. But then I learned that my grandpa that raised me is not my biological grandpa, which shattered me because that's like my whole, that's what I know. And still to this day, my dad doesn't know that because he refuses to meet his new daughter, he's not mentally stable, so I get it. But in confirming for my newly discovered half-sister that my dad is in fact her dad, then I learned something that I didn't know, which it was a little stressful, I'm not gonna lie. Like I tried to be okay with it, but...
So who was your grandfather?
I don't know. So I tried to do research on Ancestry.com, all the things. But here's where it gets really interesting. So, 2 things. I had a letter that was my grandma's, my dad's mom. She had kept it in her jewelry box. And I remember when I was a kid reading it, and basically it was like, hey, I'm pregnant, but I don't want, I'm not gonna say my dad's name, but him to know. I don't need anything, but I'm pregnant and, I'm moving here. And I asked my grandma, I was like, what is this? She's like, oh no, it's nothing. Well, she kept that letter. Well, fast forward, after she died, I took it with me. And that letter was from my half-sister's mom. And so when I finally figured out where the letter was from and that it was real, it blew my mind. But we also learned, again, in finding out my grandpa wasn't really my dad's dad, we started questioning, well, what the heck? Like, how did that just go unnoticed? Well, talking to my aunts, they're like, oh, that's probably why your grandpa shot your grandma. Yeah, this is a true story. So when they were all living, I can't remember where they were, but my aunts remember it very vividly as well. I guess my grandpa came home, found my grandma, she was pregnant with my dad. And he shot her. And rather than like telling on him or, telling the cops, she was like, it was an accident. She was in the hospital. I have pictures of it. It's wild. But he got away with it because back then he was taking care of her and their family. And I guess it was like, well, she can't take care of all these kids by herself. But now we know why. He found out about the affair. It's wild. He found out about the affair, and so it all makes sense now. So in that way, there's a little closure there. But yeah, I still don't know who his dad is. We tried, but no one's willing to respond to our messages. Yeah. Very crazy.
Families get complicated.
They do, yeah. So here we are. I think that, as you were saying earlier, people can let all of that get to them. It's very heavy stuff. But I was always hesitant to talk about it because I always see other people that have it worse. You always have that in your head, like, oh, well, it could be worse, it could be worse. But when I finally let myself process it and think through it, I'm like, that doesn't matter, that's really fucked up. Like, no kid should have to go through that. So in that way, I do feel like it's okay for me to be open about how it was awful. Like, that's not, a kid shouldn't have to go through that. But I've come out ahead. Somehow, even with all of that, something in my brain, I don't know if I'm wired differently or I'm just blessed with the ability to just push forward. But I just feel like you don't need to be a product of your environment. You don't need to feel like what you've been through or your surroundings or your family even, they don't need to hold you back. You can cut ties with your family. That's very healthy, actually. Mm-hmm. You can just be like, you are not serving me well.
You didn't pick them.
That's right. You are not doing anything positive for me in my life. And maybe in the future we'll meet again.
And a picnic.
Yeah, but for now you're not doing anything positive for myself. And that's sort of what we've done with my dad, unfortunately.
But the only trouble is a lot of people are too young to make those kind of decisions.
Yes. So I will say I was fortunate, as we opened up, I was fortunate enough to have people that was around me that loved me and guided me and gave me a home and clothes and food. And I know not every child is fortunate enough to have that.
And that's what saved your life, probably.
It is. It's those little, very simple things.
Just having people, whether it's step-parents or foster parents or grandparents or aunts or uncles or whoever, that, or even just whoever. That is a parent figure that can be a solid role model and a good person.
That's right.
To guide and raise a kid. That's all you need.
That's right. Yeah, it's the basics. My uncle always says that too. He's my godfather.
No, your dad could be Charles Manson. Your mom could be.
Oh my gosh! Speaking of, I wasn't going to tell you this, but since you said it, I went to high school with. Did you remember hearing about Star, his wife? Like, she's about my age. She was going to this is before he died, but she was visiting him, and they were going to get married and stuff.
I don't remember this.
Anyway, I went to high school with her.
Yeah. She was going to marry Charles Manson? Yeah.
Well, so she would, I'm not kidding you, and she's still alive, so she was, side note, being in a small town, you were friends with everyone, and it kept you out of trouble. It was really neat in that way, but that doesn't mean we didn't booze cruise, drink in countries, cornfields, barns. But she would be walking around the halls saying that one day she was going to move out to where he is in prison and marry him. She's always said that.
When he was in prison?
Yes. Read her books. This was back in high school, so I went to high school I graduated in 2006. So.
And she was much, much younger.
Oh, yeah. She was dead set on it. And so when she actually did move, where was he in prison, out here in L.A.?
I don't know where he was.
It was I think in California.
In California,
she
probably.
Moved here,
yeah.
And she lived by him, would visit him like all the time. You can Google it. It's weird. It's a fun fact for you about me.
No, but you've built a life that is.
I have, yes. I've built a great life, and one day I'm excited to be able to tell my kids about it. To be like, now I'm gonna get teary-eyed. I haven't cried the whole time about myself, but thinking about my kids makes me so happy to know that they'll have a stable home and they won't ever have to worry about that.
What do you think the difference is between you, who like you don't have the self-destructive tendencies that your mom and dad did?
Right.
You clearly love your kids and want what's best for them, and know how to make good decisions about what is best for them. What do you think? Why do you think you have these qualities and they don't? Was it just the saving that came from your grandparents?
I've thought about that a lot, and I've had this conversation with. He's my old boss, and he's still a mentor and good friend today. We've had this conversation a lot because over the years I've opened up to him, and he asked the same question. He's like, "But just like how are you today?" And I'm like, I think it's twofold. One is just experiencing that and knowing that's messed up. Like you don't, that's not normal. So just experiencing that and knowing what isn't right, just the basics like we were talking about. You just need to love people and know that it doesn't take a lot. It's like, hey, I love you, you're safe. And so seeing what is not good and what you don't want, that's, I think, half of it. The other half, I can't explain. I think I was just the way my mentor always says, like, I think that you were just a special ball of dust when you were created, and that just makes you unique. And so I think that's the other half, whether everyone has different religious views, but...
To oversimplify, it's just being able to love yourself and love those around you.
Yeah, and then just focusing on the good that's been put in my life and my path. And I do feel like I do have positive impact on people too, just being myself. And my whole life, you hear stuff about how some people just have something about them that makes people feel comfortable and happy, and they can sense energy. And I get that a lot. Strangers will just open up and tell me their whole lives. And I love that. I love people. Humans are just so interesting to me, and our minds and our behaviors are just fascinating.
Those are words that exactly the way I would have said it.
Yeah.
And you're working now?
Yes. So I've been with my organization for 11 years. It's a healthcare technology company, and we are modernizing healthcare for people, like patients, because healthcare is tricky and complicated and hard for people. So I am a leader in our product development department organization, and that's one of the things I love is getting to mentor people and watch them grow in their roles. And they've been incredible to me. I started there like entry level, taking care of customers, and then over the years I realized I wanted to be a part of the solution. I had these ideas, and I'm like, well, I should probably say something. And they're amazing about having open doors and always taking in feedback. And so I just started giving ideas to our technology and development teams. And then from there, I grew into an analyst and program management. And now I manage a few folks in our product development team. Amazing. Yeah. I've been there, like I said, 11 years. And my husband and I do well. We have a beautiful home. The kids never need anything. I mean, you clearly have what if it's a competency gene. Yeah. You have it. But where did that come from? I don't know, but you see people that have it, like Kobe Bryant. He spoke well. He was good looking. He was talented. He was smart. He did everything well. Yeah. And there are many, many other people like that just do a lot of things. Once you learn how to do one thing really well, you can apply that to so many other things. Yes. And in fact, at one point my husband did say something, because, as you get older, you're like, well, obviously I'd prefer not to work. Like, I'd rather be a yoga instructor or own a dance studio or write music full-time, perform full-time. But this is the career and the path that I was given, and I have to think that there's something about that. Like, there's a reason for it. But what he said was, I think that you, no matter what you would have chosen, you would have done amazing in it.
That's
And
what
I was like, I think you're right. And so he said that one day, and I thought, I could have, and I still could. I'm still young. That's another thing. Like, you can wake up tomorrow and just be someone that you want to be better for, if that makes sense. Like, you can't lose your core bit about you. But if you decide tomorrow you want to be funnier, or you want to laugh more, or you want to go learn a new instrument, like, no one's stopping you but yourself. So, yeah, I think that I could have chosen anything and would be good at it. Because I like to win. I'm a winner. And I don't like to fail.
That's a big part of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Traci, thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you, Mark.
When I was designing the first Soft White Underbelly book, I realized that there were so many great portraits that weren't going to make it into that book. They just wouldn't fit. And once I saw how well that first book sold, I knew I'd have to design a second book. This second book is finally ready to ship. Like the first one, this book has a collection of some of the best portraits from Soft White Underbelly, accompanied by a quote from that person's interview. This book features another group of Rebecca portraits, as well as a collection of color images of the Whitaker family, and plenty of others. You can order yours for $125 or $150 for a signed copy at softwhiteunderbelly.org. Again, like the first book, once this book is sold out, I will not be printing more of them. The portraits are what Soft White Underbelly is all about, and these two books contain the best of all that work. Thank you for watching. Nikki, where are you from originally? Where did you grow up?
I was actually born in the Balboa Naval Hospital. My dad was in the Navy, but that was short-lived. And then I moved to Long Beach, and I've been pretty much everywhere that you could think of. My mom and my dad split when I was very young because my dad used to do drugs and beat on my mom, and so they separated, and my mom was a single mom. I have brothers, and I'm the only girl and the oldest. So then my mom became an addict, and I became mom slash sister slash aunt slash babysitter for all my mom's homegirls and their children, you know? So I'm 9 years old and a child myself, and knew how to make mixed drinks and pick up my drunk mom off the floor and take care of my brothers. And we were really poor, you know, like really poor. People say, oh, we were poor when we grew up, and then I hear what they say, you know, and how they lived their life. And no, we were poor. Like we would wet magazine, you know what I mean? And wipe our butts sometimes, you know, like electricity would be off. I remember being 9 years old and walking from door to door, you know, asking different neighbors for different things so I could feed me and my brothers. In that kind of poor. And then I learned how to steal, you know, and that like saved my family, you know. And my mom even knew that I was stealing, but she was so far in her addiction that she didn't even care, and she somehow made it right to herself, you know. Well, God knows our heart. I remember she used to say that. And she sold me for a dope sack when I was 12 to her boyfriend's brother. And that's when that's when pretty much my life had took a turn, you know, because my innocence was taken from me at that time. Sorry. And so then, after that point, I'm 12 years old and really didn't know too much about life, you know. I knew that as far as I was concerned, life was rough, but because that's all I had been through, I didn't even really realize that what I was going through was abnormal, you know? Until I started hanging out with people who had normal lives. But then, because I was so used to having chaos around me, that would only be short-lived, you know. I could only hang out with my normal friends for so long. And I had to hang out with gang members and people who were older than me, and because that's just, it was normal to me, you know. The white picket fence, and that was never anything that I ever thought that I would be able to obtain, you know. But yeah, that's how I grew up. And then when I got a little bit older, like, so because I was so angry, right, I got kicked out of several schools, became a gang member, was very promiscuous, because that was normal, you know. Plus didn't have a dad, you know. My mom was promiscuous, my mom was an addict, so seeing all those things for so long, you know, it just kind of rubs off on you.
There's your role model.
Right. And I got kicked out of like 8 schools. I got kicked out of the Orange County district because I had gotten sent to Orange County from Long Beach, and eventually I had to become homeschooled. And of course that didn't work well because I already didn't have any guidance. So I finally graduated high school in county jail when I was 25. Never was really interested in anything that was successful, ever, you know. I always had an interest and it always looked good to me. But I think somehow there was something on the inside of me that felt that maybe I didn't deserve success, you know? So I've always self-sabotaged, always. My whole entire life, including now. Excuse me. I have to take a shot, like, I'm so sorry. Alcoholism is very ugly, but it's real. So.
That's vodka and orange juice?
Yeah. But I don't like to mix it, because for some reason it feels like it's less potent that way. I need to feel the burn, I guess. What I do remember is, because I've always been smart, you know? I think maybe it's because I had to be an adult at an early age. And, you know, I know during junior high and high school, teachers would try to send me to leadership classes, and they would tell my mom, who would always be high as a fucking kite when she would go to my parent-teacher conferences, if she would even show up, you know? She's so brilliant, you know, she's very sharp, she's smart. She just doesn't apply herself, you know? Is there anything that's going on at home, you know? Well, yeah, I mean, she doesn't have electricity, and sometimes she goes to sleep without eating, and, you know, I smoke crack and fuck 5 different men during the week, you know? No, that was never said. I had this, somehow my mom gave me the reputation that she gave me, you know, because she couldn't dare say that it was her, you know? So she made me the bad kid. And I became the bad kid. I was always chubby, you know? So that was rough for me. So instead of dealing with the fat jokes or whatever the case may be, I started bullying others, you know? And I would make fun of myself first, so others wouldn't have a chance to do it. I would act like it didn't matter to me. But because I was so used to being the fat hoe or whatever from my mother, you know, the one person that out of everybody in your whole entire life, you would think that you could trust and love, you know, betrays you like that and does the things that they do. The way that you look at other people, it just completely sets a different path for your life. And you don't trust anybody and you have your guards up. Like, it's... I can't even believe that I'm sharing these things. But, so I became that kid, in and out of juvenile hall. Would always fight. I was very violent, because that's the way that, because I was beaten and raped and molested and, you know, and I was so angry. I hated my mother, you know. I still hate my mom, and that's sad. But I love her at the same time. And nobody could ever say anything about my mom because I would beat their ass. But, yeah. That's like the gist of my, I mean, and I've always been talented, and, you know, I sing. I've always had a gift. Like, I could sing my ass off. My mom stopped me from doing a lot of things, either because she didn't want to pay for it, or when I was like 14 years old, she decided to be a born-again Christian, right? And then she decided to, oh, well, you spare the rod, you spoil the child. And then she thought that she could beat me and my brothers, right? And it was okay because that's what the Bible says. But bitch, we've already been grown now. We've raised ourselves, you know? And you want to try to hit us now? We've already been through too much. Who the fuck do you think you are? You know? But I do remember as a child, I felt the power of God, you know? And it didn't change the way that I felt about the Lord. And I realized at that point in time that, you know what? I do have a gift, and I do love God. You know, so, like, I've been through almost every aspect of life you could think of. And so, even though my mom was fucking the usher who was married, you know, and wondered why people looked at her crazy and shit, and they used to do meth on the weekends when nobody was looking, but God was, you know? And so I like prided myself in being different, you know? I didn't want to have sex before marriage. I didn't want to, you know, I wanted to do it the right way. You know, I started doing good in school and was actually on the honor roll for a little while, you know? But then after I became home, like, I lost all hope, right? After my grandma died. My grandma died, and my grandma was the only person that was the rock in my family. My mom came from a family of 10. You know, she had 10 brothers and sisters. Her brothers and sisters, they were all abusive to each other, you know? And that's because my grandpa was a raging fucking alcoholic, go figure. He actually died of cirrhosis of the liver not too long ago. And he used to beat my grandmother, who was the most awesome lady, you know? It's, some people are changed by their atmosphere and what they go through, and some people are not. My grandma was never changed, you know? It didn't matter how much shit she went through. She was never changed, but everybody else was, you know? After my grandma died and I no longer had, because my grandma would put my mom in check, you know? My grandma would say, Therese, no, you need to let her aspire in being a singer, and she's gonna be somebody, and you can't treat her that way. And I would never tell my grandma exactly what she did, because even though my mom did some fucked up shit, I didn't want my grandma to be mad at my mom, because I didn't want my mom to be mad at me, because I always strived for her approval still, you know? And that's basically where the hurt starts, you know? The hurt started there, and it didn't end there.
When you left your mom's house, where did you go?
I had been in and out of my mom's house since I was 14 years old, you know?
So at 14, you ran away?
Yeah.
Did you finish high school?
When I got my GED in jail at 25. Yeah, never finished. I was too busy drinking and gangbanging and trying to be accepted, because the neighborhood that I grew up in was predominantly black and Hispanic, and I'm Egyptian and French, you know, but I look like a white girl, you know, and so I had to be harder than them. And little did they know that I was angrier than a lot of them. So it didn't really take much for me. And then I was accepted, and I actually had a family. It sounds stupid, but
It's a common story.
they were my family. And as far as I was concerned, we would die for each other. That's not the fucking truth. Gang members, most of the time, they're only loyal to each other to a fault, you know? And to a certain extent. And once what they need from you or what they want from you is over, their loyalty becomes less and less, you know? Don't get me wrong, there are some people that keep it family, you know, and when you go to jail, they're there for you, and, you know, but at the end of the day, you're the one that does that time. You're the one that's in that cell all by yourself because you're a violent offender, you know? You're the one who doesn't have anybody writing you. You're the one that doesn't have anybody accepting your collect calls, you know? So you're just alone. And then you're around all these different criminals, and it makes you even more angry and a better criminal. Because what happens when you get a whole bunch of people who have made mistakes? You trade each other's mistakes and you become a better criminal. You know? And that's what happens. And it's crazy, but it's just a vicious cycle. I don't believe in the jail system. I don't believe in the judicial system, because they're not for us. They're really not. And what happens to an animal when you cage somebody? They either fight or they flight. And if there's nowhere to fucking run, you have no other choice but to fight. And then that makes you harder.
What kind of stuff were you doing when you were out on your own?
When I was what?
When you had left your mom's house and you were on your own, what were you doing for money? What did you do with your time?
Oh, God. selling drugs, doing drugs, selling pussy, you know, stealing. Because I was a gang member and I had pride, that the selling pussy part came way later in life, you know, because I thought that hoes were just disgusting at the time. I had no idea that that's a whole different aspect of life. But anyway, but for the most part, because I was one of the youngest, you know, you can go from pillar to post, you know, because you're young and you're hurting and your mom is so fucked up that people actually care then when you're young. And it was a long time ago. I'm 40 years old, you know. People actually had a lot more care for people then, because everything wasn't done on video and online. You actually had to have a conversation with people. And I mean, I remember being younger and especially because I've had friends, I've had friends who were gang members or whatever the case may be, and had really good lives. Like, what the fuck are you doing? And you don't even belong here. Like, this is not for you. This is for people who have no family and who are hurting and who are rough. Like, there's a lot of that out here too. A lot of that out here. And I say that to those people too. Like, the fuck are you doing out here? You have a family. You have a fucking career. You have so many other things that you could be doing. Like, I wish I could see my kids, you know? But my rights got taken. And I haven't seen my kids in 3 years. And my baby is almost 4. You know what happens to a person? A woman, a mother, when their kids are taken? You take away their reason to wake up every day. God, I'm jumping from high school to how I ended up out here, but 3 years ago, almost, I lived in Las Vegas, because I actually did make something of myself, you know, for a little while. Off and on, I've had success, and then I fucked it up, and then I've had success, and then I fucked it up, you know, through alcoholism and self-sabotage, like I say. I had a beautiful home in Las Vegas, a career. I was modeling on the side, singing in studios, you know. I had all my kids with me, 2 cars, like, life was good for me. My baby's dad came to Las Vegas and picked a fight with me, you know, and violence is, you put me in a corner, I'm gonna fight. It doesn't matter whether I lose or I win, you're gonna get hit fucking with me, you know. It's just 5 brothers, rough life. This shit just happens, you know. But so I hit him, right? And even though the kids were not awake, they were not even in the same room, they were across the house asleep. A neighbor called because of his disturbance, right? And Nevada does not play. Like, their laws are super strict. And because I already had a strike and a violent crime, they wouldn't let me have my kids back. And my mom decided, hey, I'll take them and go take care of everything that you need to take care of, and I'll give them back to you, Nikki, you know? Shit, when my kids first got taken, because all I knew, right, I had everything fucked up in my life. The one good thing that I did have were my kids. And I prided myself in being a good mom. Man, I tried my damnedest to be the best mom that I could, you know? And I was a good mom. And I didn't sleep for 9 days, Mark. Because every time because my baby was just a baby when he was first taken. I have 3. But my youngest was just a baby. He was only 1. He had just turned 1. He slept with me every day. And so every time I tried to close my eyes, I couldn't sleep because I didn't feel complete, one, you know? And then like oppression just took over. Depression. I would close my eyes, I would hear my baby cry. It was like I was almost being tormented. I mean, I don't know if you believe in spirits or whatever, but it really felt like I was being tormented by evil spirits, you know? And 9 days later, I guess from another disturbance, my fucking neighbors were nosy as hell. Las Vegas PD came into my house and they had to break in because at this point I'm comatose, you know, but I wasn't sleeping. And when they walked in, I was sitting at the table with a gallon of Carlo Rossi in front of me and 4 dinner plates at the table. Because I was taking care of kids that weren't there. I guess my body had went into autopilot, you know? And losing them was just traumatic to me. So, and then I was in the Las Vegas mental institution for 2.5 weeks. And then they finally decided to let me out. And I went back to my apartment and I packed up everything that I could in my little car. And I went back to the abuser and the abused, you know, baby's dad. And he was methed out, you know, swore that he would help me get the kids back. He didn't want to help me. And so my addiction and his addiction just became stronger and stronger, you know? And then we became more and more abusive to each other to the point where we both went to jail for domestic violence again, lost everything. So I get out of jail. My mom had changed her phone number. I didn't know where my kids were. So I felt like, okay, well, fuck it. I really have nothing and nobody. So what do I do now? So I really went on destructive mode to the point where I like wanted to die and wanted to kill myself and tried many times. And for some reason, there's something or someone that always stops me, you know? I wouldn't wish some of the things that I've been through and seen on anybody, you know? So I got into prostitution because, you know, being on the street at this point is dangerous, you know? And this is when I first became homeless. And I had a pimp, you know? And he was the one who was like, hey, well, you like to fuck anyway, so you might as well make money doing it. And so I started selling myself. And I made good money doing it. But I didn't get to keep any of it, of course. And you know, there's all these promises that are given to you. Yeah, we'll do this and we'll help you get your kids back. And so, of course, you know, I give my all. And I got an A for effort. Have nothing to show for it. Nothing. But I did have a contusion, you know, broken ribs, no shoes, and a busted lip by the time I finally got out of that situation, almost a year later. And I got out of that through CAST, which is Coalition Against Sexual Trafficking, you know? And they brought me out here because where I was being trafficked was in Orange County. So they brought me out here. Their main office is actually out here. And they put me in a hotel downtown. Next thing you know, I met a cute guy who told me that he had a hotel and he'd be able to help me, and I'm so beautiful and da-da-da-da-da and talented, and I ended up on fucking Agatha. And I've been out here since. That's almost 3 years ago. It's almost like Skid Row is a twilight zone, you know? And because most of the people here are so helpless and hopeless and hurting so badly, and it's so dog eat dog out here, and hurting people hurt people, you know? I've been raped 3 times. I was kidnapped for 3 days. Fuck. And it seems like every time I get ahead, even just a little bit, I get knocked back like 10 steps, you know? And the men a lot of the men out here are just fucking, they're predators. Like, and they'll use anything. Love, kids, shelter, anything to get what it is that they want from you. And then once they get what they want, they just throw you away like a piece of trash. And then if you decide not to, you end up like me, angry, bitter, in the cold, sick. Last year it was so cold during the wintertime, I had gotten pneumonia and lost hearing in my right ear, you know? So it's like, fuck, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. And then you get paperwork ready so you could try to get an SRO, and somebody steals your fucking purse, and then you're starting all over again. And it's hard to do anyway, because guess what? You stay up all night so you don't have to be subjected to anybody else's bullshit, right? So you're tired as fuck by the time the day comes, right? So you do drugs to stay awake. And because you do drugs to stay awake and you've been awake all night, you don't want to go and take care of any business. That's the last thing that's on your mind. And so it's just another vicious cycle all over again. It's like, God. So I wish that God would just really just put his hand down and just do something about this cesspool of pain. And there's people from all different types of life out here. People who are very successful. People who have had careers and lives, and down to the dirtiest, you know, like it's people who are very talented. I've seen so many talented people out here, Mark. It's a damn shame, you know? I wish he would just put his hand down and just help. Help. There are hurting people out here, you know? And hurting people hurt people. It's a known fact. Psychologically, like mentally, emotionally, like if you've been through some shit and you're hurting, you're either gonna have your guards up so much to the point where you don't care, or you're gonna hurt others. Period. I mean, I wish at least somebody would be on some Robin Hood shit where they could steal from the rich and give to the poor. But all these poor people are stealing from each other and hurting each other and selling drugs to each other. Fuck. It's like another world out here. I know you've seen it. How can all of society just go on around us and nobody see what's going on? Does that make sense? So is it some kind of conspiracy?
It's just too painful to look at. Too painful to process.
How
For a lot of people.
how dare the shame on you to just turn your face and go on with your fucking life while people are dying out here. 3 people just this year have died from fucking hypothermia because it's cold out here. There are parasites and bugs and disease, and everybody's having sex with each other, and there's AIDS, and we're all gonna die.
Not to mention the fentanyl.
Right. The fentanyl and the heroin and the overdoses, we're all gonna die unless we get out of here. I mean, what is it, population control? What is it? I don't understand. But I don't want this to be my legacy. Because one day my kids will get older, right? I don't want them to come down here and look for their mama. And me be fucking cracked out like some of the girls that I see now. I don't want that for myself. And I still try, which is something that I pride in myself, that I've never given up, no matter how much shit I've been through. I can't, even though it may look like it on the outside, there's something on the inside of me that won't give up. And that's usually just human nature. Because we're animals, And animals fight. It's nature. But drugs numb you to the point where you lose the fight, You lose the fight. And it makes me so sad to see people that lose their drive. Fuck. I'm an alcoholic, and that's like the worst. It really, really is. It's everywhere. And if you don't use it, it makes you sick and you can die. So even though people can look at it like, oh, well, you could just quit, just don't drink. Well, bitch, you just don't buy the sack, how dare you talk about my addiction? But you can actually have a seizure and die. Alcohol is the only thing that, if you go to jail, right, it's the only thing that they give you detox medicine for anymore. They don't even give heroin addicts detox medicine. Because even though their body hurts and their body is addicted to it too,